Beautiful morning at Montignac. In this video, I'd like to talk about realistic loadouts. So perhaps you've seen this at an armory, or perhaps you play like this yourself. You go to an armory, you throw away your weapon, get a new weapon with a grenade launcher, extra machine gun, backpack, extra ammo, a lot of rifle grenades. I think a lot of players don't like players doing that for two reasons. The first reason is I think it's unrealistic for a player to have this much firepower. And the second reason is a lot of players don't like when players waste supplies. Now, I personally, I don't care much for the supply wasting because I want the game to be a completely lawless sandbox game where players team play together because they want to, not because they're forced to by some arbitrary rules. How about the realism of how much firepower a player can carry on a body realistically? I think that's a problem that should be fixed. However, the fixes that I read so far, I don't think they're really good ideas. One idea was to ration the supplies a player can have by so each player can only get a certain amount of supplies, or even worse, limited by the rank, or limited by some type of class system, or just lowering the total weight limit a character can carry. And I don't like those solutions because they try to trade away some of the realism to have a quick fix for another problem in the game. And if the game starts doing that, it may end up like Squad. And I don't want this game to be like Squad, because I think this game is special because it avoids being like Squad. So how to fix it then? And I think my idea is pretty easy. So there's basically two things to it. The first one is, let's say you want to jump over this fence. And if your character is over a certain total weight, he shouldn't be able to jump that fence. So let's say, for example, this is a fence that requires you to be below 30 kilo extra, or below 30 kilo loadout weight. And if you try to jump the fence, your character would fail jumping it. So there should be an animation when you jump the fence, and the fail animation should start the same way like the successful animation. Only at the peak of the animation, it should blend into a different animation where your character fails to climb it. However, that limit shouldn't be exact. It should be a fuzzy limit. So for example, for this fence, if the limit would be 30 kilos, if your character would be between 20 and 40 kilos of gear weight, then the game would roll the dice and perhaps factor in the current stamina to see if the player could jump the fence. And I think this would create an incentive for players to carry less gear to not limit their traversal options in city environments. And it's a limit that's realistic and easy to understand. And the other part of the idea is to also limit it in cars. So let's see, when you get into a car, you see the weapons on the character's back and the backpack is visually removed. Because I think the developers know it looks bad if it clips to the seat like that. So how about not just making the visual thing, but connecting it to gameplay? So if you want to take a seat in the car, you would have to go to the back of the car, remove your secondary weapon and your backpack, put in the trunk. Then you could sit in the car. And I think this would achieve several things. It would add strategic depth to the game, increase the team play, and increase emotional attachment to the car. Let me show you. Okay, so let's say you and your friends planning to attack Montignac. And let's say you're somewhere here in some spawn area. Let's say you have a car. Let's imagine it's like kilometers away. So you have this car over here. And so you plan ahead. You want to go in with normal rifles, but you also want to carry extra machine guns and rocket launchers in case you need extra firepower. So you pack them into the trunk of the car. Then you drive the car close to the town somewhere and park it somewhere. Then you put the mark on the map so friendlies can know it's a forward supply point. Then you go in fighting, and when you see targets that need more firepower, one or two of the guys run back to the car, get the extra supplies, and use them in combat. And this would also increase team play because you have more coordination, because let's say you're a 4-man team, and you have this one Humvee with 4 seats. Then you would basically talk to each other, coordinate what gear to take, who takes what gear, and you have this whole strategic gameplay, the whole strategic planning before combat. And it also increased emotional attachment to the car because you put all the effort in to put in the gear in and driving the car to a certain place. So you get that emotional attachment you normally get in DayZ if you put a stash barrel somewhere or if you fix up a car and hide it somewhere in the forest. So you get like a mini version of that in Reforger. And I think there's also a gameplay opportunity for players who want to specialize in that. So let's say there's a lot of players who want to attack this town, but they don't want to do any planning. So they just go in with normal rifles. And a few dedicated players could specialize in taking these cars, packing them with guns and ammo, and parking them in strategic locations close to the town. And they could perhaps put a marker also and tell friendlies where it is. So friendlies can travel into the town with light gear, and as they need it, they can just get gear from the car and go fight in the city. Now the argument may be, why not just use an arsenal truck? The thing is, I don't like arsenal trucks. I think arsenal trucks, they're magic gear generators, like the command trucks are basic magic spawn portals. They shouldn't exist in the game. However, even if those exist in the game, a small car like that is lower profile, and I think it's just more fun to physically go to an armory, grab a machine gun, put it in the car, drive in the car somewhere, and knowing you stashed it somewhere, you can get the machine gun when you need it to fight in combat.